Hey there, it's Monkey. Difficulty in Shogun 2 has one of the greatest impacts on your playthrough, but the game doesn't do a really good job of telling you what actually happens when you change the difficulty setting. We're going to try to fix some of that. In this video, I'm going to cover a number of the bonuses and penalties that the AI and the player gets when we change difficulty. I'm going to split it into campaign difficulty and battle difficulty because I'm also going to show you how to separate the two so you can better dial in a game experience based off of your skill level. The campaign difficulty pertains mostly to the activity on this layer of the map. This is the campaign or strategic layer of the map. Upgrading buildings, hiring armies, diplomacy, all these things are like examples of campaign activities. Battlefield difficulty covers mainly what takes place on the battlefield. We're starting a new game. We picked our clan and our campaign length. For difficulty, there's a few things to keep in mind. First is that with this slider, we're locking in campaign difficulty. You can only change that by starting a new game. The second thing is that battle difficulty initially equals whatever we've set campaign difficulty to. So if I'm picking to start the game on very hard campaign difficulty, that means battle difficulty by default is also very hard. To change battle difficulty once you're in the game, you just pull up the game menu. So on the PC, that's escape or just whatever the game menu is for you. Go to options, game settings, and then you'll find battle difficulty here. Now, this is where we can change the difficulty from, in my case, I started the game on very hard, so the difficulty defaulted to very hard, but I could turn this down to hard, normal, or easy. You'll also note there's no legendary battle difficulty because very hard is the hardest battle difficulty you can get. Legendary only applies to the campaign stuff. And on that note, the exception to all this is legendary because when we choose to start a legendary campaign, we are also locking in the battle difficulty to very hard. That's in addition to only one save, the no pausing battles, etc. that comes with legendary as well. You can never change the battle difficulty on legendary. That's just the nature of it being that level of challenge. I've made a spreadsheet of the campaign handicap effects for the campaign AI or the CAI and the player. Difficulties across the top. A lot of them are self-explanatory, but some of them might need a little more context. The easy ones to understand are the recruitment effects. That's the recruitment cost modifier for the AI and the upkeep cost modifier. And these actually are for both the AI and the player. Now, as you can probably guess, as difficulty goes up, it gets cheaper for the AI to recruit and upkeep its units, and it gets more expensive for the player to recruit and upkeep. In addition to these financial modifiers, the AI also receives the income tax mod and the admin cost mod. Now, the income tax mod, it applies to the taxes collected from each province, and we can easily relate this to Metsuke stars. So one Metsuke star is a 5% increase in tax income for that province. So on hard difficulty, the AI receives a 5% income tax mod. That's basically the equivalent of giving every single AI province one Metsuke star. On very hard, it's the equivalent of about 2.5 stars, and on legendary, it's 3 stars worth of Metsuke in every province. And of course, they usually can hire up to 5 Metsuke to stick those in provinces on top of that bonus. Now, in addition to that, they have the admin cost mod, and the admin cost refers to the administration cost, and you can find that in your finance panel in the lower right-hand corner of the game screen there. Now, I could spend a half an hour talking about finance, administration costs, Metsuke, all that sort of stuff, but I'm going to distill this down to what I think is a really good example. You have, let's say you have 14 provinces under your direct control. You're a little over halfway to beating the shortest campaign because that requires 25 provinces. So at 14 provinces, your administration cost is going to be 42%. And what that means is that 42% of all the tax income you collect from your provinces is gone. You're losing that as part of the administration cost. This applies to your farms, your Metsuke bonuses, and anything that provides wealth to that province, because that all feeds into tax income. Now, let's say you're playing on very hard, and you have an AI that also has like an identical 14 provinces. So their admin cost is half of what your admin cost is. And functionally what this means is the AI is going to be making 36% more income per turn than you are because it has this benefit. Now, in addition to that, it gets that income tax modifier that we just talked about before, those extra sort of Metsuke stars on all of its provinces. And those will benefit even greater from the fact that the admin cost on those has been reduced by half. And then in addition to that, we get the bonus of the cheaper recruitment for the AI. So the difference on very hard is 35% between the AI and the player. And then finally on top of that, as I'm almost like going off the screen here, on top of that, the AI also gets a 25% difference in upkeep. So all of these financial bonuses stack up in favor of the AI, particularly as you get to higher difficulties, and it becomes very significant on very hard and legendary. Now, can we make this any more difficult for the player? And the answer on very hard and legendary difficulty is yes. And that's because the AI gets recruitment points and naval recruitment points on very hard and legendary. Recruitment points refer to the amount of units you can recruit every turn in a province. By default, every fort in the game, every base level fort, has one recruitment point. That's one unit it can recruit per turn. Your capital adds +1 recruitment point to your home province. So when you start with a one clan province, you have one recruitment point for your fort, +1 for it being the capital. So 2 units you can recruit every turn. Hojo starts with 2 provinces, right? So he's got 2 recruitment points in his capital and 1 recruitment point in the other province. Now, as you upgrade your fort, eventually you can add more recruitment points to that. But just running with this example, if you're, again, playing on very hard and you're playing as a Hojo and you have 4 provinces, you'll have 4 units you can recruit across those 4 provinces, plus 1 more unit in your capital. So 5 units you could recruit per turn, if you're maxing out your recruitment. If your neighbor's the Imagawa and also has 4 provinces, but it's an AI, it can instead recruit 9 units per turn. So you're recruiting 5 units per turn, and the AI on very hard or legendary can be recruiting 9 units per turn. That's almost twice as many units per turn that the player can. And this is the big reason, if not the reason, why players on very hard and legendary sometimes feel as if the game seems to be springing armies up out of nowhere. They're not really coming from nowhere. It's just the fact that the AI can recruit almost twice as many units as the player can, without any forts being upgraded at all. So, you've got, in that example, 2 turns, Hojo would have 10 units. In 2 turns, Imagawa would have 18 units potential. That's pretty significant. Now, another significant bonus that the AI gets is this AI region resistance modifier. This is a 100% reduction in the resistance to invaders that normally the player would suffer, right? So, and we do suffer. So when you take a province, there's resistance to invaders. As the game goes further on, as you take more provinces, eventually that penalty goes up, and it also never really goes away. But the AI ignores all of that. No resistance to invader bonus for the AI, or penalty, I should say, for the AI. This allows the AI to grow into a fairly large and challenging faction sizes for the player without sort of having to deal with the same hangups that we have. And this applies across every difficulty, by the way. So even an easy or a normal AI never has to deal with resistance to invaders. Now, the player, on the other hand, we do have an increasing resistance to invaders penalty that grows over time. So by the time you get to very hard and legendary, you have 30% to 40% more resistance to invaders. In addition to those modifiers, the AI there's also the research rate modifier. And this one, let's look at the short campaign one first. Everybody, AI and player alike, get a 25% bonus to research rate on a short campaign. This just allows tech to be more accessible, basically, the Bushido and the arts faster on a short campaign. But in addition to this, the AI specifically gets more penalties at the low end, but bonuses at the high end, up to basically about a third faster research rate on legendary, over the player. The AI also gets additional movement points on their armies, so traveling across the map faster. They get stronger personal security, so their generals are tougher, and they get also just blanket across the board a little bit of extra repression because, the resistance to invaders wasn't enough. Give them some extra repression on top of that. So they pretty much don't really have to deal with unhappiness much at all, or at least they can largely ignore it. In addition to all of these campaign effects, there's additional modifiers that are pulled from a different table that determine whether the CAI retreats and, benefit the combat potential when you auto-resolve, or reduce the amount of casualties that the AI takes when you auto-resolve, stuff like that. This is all in a sheet that I'm going to have a link for down in the description, so you can refer to it at your leisure. There are also behavioral effects that tend to hold the CAI back on lower difficulty levels. They'll be less inclined to attack you as far as that goes. These constraints are removed as the difficulty increases. Okay, we've talked about a number of bonuses and penalties on the campaign side of things. Let's talk about battle difficulty. This is actually harder to list out because most of it relates to tactics that are buried in the Warscape engine. Now, as far as units go, we've been told the bonuses to the AI on hard and very hard are half the bonuses in previous Total War games. But we don't have many specifics. We do have some decent estimates for morale, melee attack, and accuracy. These are usually the three of the bonuses that are mentioned. These go between being bonuses for the player and penalties for the AI on easy difficulty to being only bonuses for the BAI on hard and very hard. Now remember, there's no legendary difficulty for battle difficulty. Equating these to unit skill ranks, where one rank is 1 morale, 1 attack, and 2 accuracy, we're looking at about 3 hidden skill ranks on hard difficulty and about 5 to 6 ranks on very hard, perhaps with a little more accuracy sprinkled on top. There is, however, a 4th stat that AI units get, and I've done a lot of testing on it. I believe reload is the most important reason why AI ranged units are so good on very hard. I have another video I'm working on that goes more into the numbers with example videos, etc., but the high-level results are that the BAI has about a plus 15 reload on hard and about a plus 25 to reload on very hard. Now, that's like 12 and a half skill ranks worth of reload. And on a Bow Ashigaru, that's about a 36% increase to rate of fire. And they can still rank up on top of that. Now, since I'm here and you're here, the best counter to that is going to be to use loose formation and have extra armor on your bows. But we'll cover that more in another video. Now, in addition to these bonuses, and like I said, the very significant bonuses to ranged units, the BAI has just really sort of like tactical upgrades when it comes to the difficulty increasing. So it goes from kind of being not so great at surveying the lay of the land and using those terrain features to its benefit to making far greater use of camping on hills, in forests, moving through forests, all of that stuff. And also, obviously, on higher difficulties, particularly legendary, your ability to see things on the map get restricted. That also feeds into it a little bit. But now, can you still sucker the general and cavalry into charging your bows while you replace them with spears? Yeah, you can still do that, even on very hard difficulty. But you'll probably notice that the cavalry or the general, once they realize that they're being killed by spears, they're a little more likely to back out of that battle and try to charge from a different direction or try to, get away or whatever. I hope you found this helpful in providing more details as to what happens when we change difficulty. If you have any questions or feedback, I'm always responsive to the comments that you leave down below. Don't forget, if you could, please help me out by hitting that like button. Subscribe if you haven't yet. You can check out my strategy guide video for Shogun 2. It's a general overview of a good strategy to apply on any difficulty. You can watch my Oda playthrough, or you can check out the other games that I like to play. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.